Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are firing up a special episode of Livestream Legends. Today we're going to be tackling how to utilize public speaking skills and strategies to level up your live streams, your presentations, and your digital presence in general. We've got a special guest that's going to be joining us today to share all of his insights, so stick around all the way to the end. We've got a brilliant show lined up for you. So if you're hanging here in the chat, please let me know. This is Livestream Legends. We're ready to go. Fire it up if you're here. It's about that time. Livestream Legends. Let's get it. Welcome to the show. Yo, drop a quick little comment if you're hanging with us. Let us know who is in the mix today. We're going to be firing up a super special episode. If you're watching this on the replay, jump ahead just a couple quick minutes. The show will be starting. But for now, would love to see who's in the mix here with us. Appreciate all of your support. And we'll be firing up with our special guest in a quick moment here. Good to see you, Margot, rocking and rolling with us. Always a pleasure. Jackie Curley in the building. Welcome to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, drop a quick little comment, a like, or anything if you're hanging with us. We can't see until you say something. Let's get it. There he is, Robert Berry in the building. Jackie Curley is excited. She's cutting ahead. Already sees that we got Brenden incoming. We are about to pull him on in a little bit. Thank you guys for jumping in here. Francisco, welcome to your first show. We hope it's a good one. Appreciate having you. Senora Payasada, you are actually live. You are not here in the replay. you are in here with us, brother. Mary Davis, Luke in the building. Okay, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we got this rocking and rolling, and I have a brilliant guest lined up for you guys to tap into all of the best practices and strategies and tips and advice on public speaking. Something myself I have been struggling with in this streaming journey and adventure. But as you guys are aware, what I've been doing with this show is just basically sharing lessons, problems, and strategies that I'm going through myself, finding awesome people that are better at those things, and then sharing their advice with you guys. So let's bring in our special guest of the day. He is the founder of MasterTalk, an organization designed for exactly this, to level up your public speaking. And in this context, it's going to be digital version of public speaking, but all of this will apply to anything you need to upgrade in your life and business. So, ladies and gentlemen, please fire up the chat for our local live stream legend, Brenden Kumarasamy.
What's up, Travis? Great to be here, man. That was an amazing introduction.
Hey, that's what we're here for. Coming in hot right out the gates. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise, your time, and everything else with us. I know we've connected over and over in LinkedIn journeys and other areas of the digital realm. And what you've been doing with MasterTalk has really caught my attention, and I'd love to honestly just straight up forward your lessons out here to the world. So just to give people a little bit of context of sort of where you're coming from on what we're going to be chatting about today, what is MasterTalk, and what pushed you this direction to pursue helping others level up their communication and public speaking?
Absolutely, brother. So for me, how public speaking and MasterTalk got started was when I was in university. I used to do these things called case competitions. Think of it like professional sports, but for nerds. So while other guys my age were playing rugby or football or other sports that I wasn't really good at or a fan of, I instead did presentations competitively, and that was my sport. So I learned how to speak, but also how to coach other people on how to speak through the experiences I had in university. And then after I graduated from university, I had the idea for MasterTalk because I realized that a lot of the information out there that's free on public speaking isn't very practical. You hear advice like, "Oh, Travis, you should like be yourself and follow your dreams." Doesn't really help you from a communication perspective.
Yes.
So I started making videos in my basement. One thing led to another, and now I do this full time, and I have an executive coaching practice as well.
Love it, man. No, it's been amazing to see what you've been building so quickly is the other piece of this. The momentum coming out the gate so clearly. There is a need for this, and glad that you've calibrated on this lane that you're in now, because the value there is a virtually bottomless pit. Myself included, and many of the other people here are probably deathly afraid of public speaking or any type of, just for me, it's that spotlight moment of like, well, everybody's listening to you. Everybody's watching you. I'm getting better and better at it thanks to streaming in general because it just pushes you in the pool. But it has been a journey, and I know this is a genuine, consistent, recurring problem. I think I've heard the statistic that the only thing people fear more than death is public speaking. Is there what's been your experience with that so far, and understanding the culture of people approaching or wanting to become more confident, but there's just this psychological monster there that we have to tackle? How do we recognize and defeat that monster?
That's definitely one way of putting it, Travis. You know, the way I think about it is, let me start with the place of empathy. I've been there. You know, growing up in a city like Montreal, French is a required language there. So not only was I afraid of presentations growing up as a kid, I had to present in a language I didn't even know because I didn't know French and I went to French school. So trust me, I have experienced firsthand what it's like to be afraid of public speaking in a way that maybe some people in this audience might not even be accustomed to. And what I've learned, Travis, is by thinking about communication, it's normal that we're all scared of it. And let me explain why. Think about every presentation you've given in your life. Every presentation is mandatory. You don't wake up one morning and say, "Hey, Travis, you want to get breakfast and present all day?" Says nobody. Says nobody ever, right? You're in college, you're in university, you're given presentations because you need to, not because you want to. And then when you get to work, same thing. And those presentations are always changing. So the second you finish one, you dump it, you move on to the next one. And then the third thing is, well, you didn't get much resources to figure this out. You didn't have a dedicated speech coach who just looked at you and said, "You know, Travis, let's really work on what you want to do." So we see public speaking like a chore. It's like doing the dishes. And who wants to get better at that? So no wonder we're all scared of communication. It makes perfect sense.
How then, if this is a natural state of the human condition, how do we start to take those first steps? In most cases, at least from what I've discovered, the initial steps into those moments are actually what end up being the most difficult. After that first one's knocked over, it seems to continuously get easier. Is that the case that you've seen so far? And what ways can people lower that threshold of that first moment into public speaking, or maybe it's business presentations, college presentations, as you mentioned? How do we start chipping away at that? Obviously, it's a lot of work to get to a fully confident final destination. But there's that initial hurdle that we have to get over. What's the best way we start training that trigger point to lean into those moments?
Of course. So I'll give you 3 practical tips that anyone can use to alleviate their fear to help them with their communication. So let's start with 1. Okay, 1 is a question. And the question is, how would the world change if you were an exceptional communicator? Most communication tips or most things around public speaking generally revolve around negative languaging. When you think of public speaking, you think of nerves, stress, fear, anxiety, but rarely do you think about the benefits around communication. So I encourage all of you to write it in the chat, right? Feel free. I see Margot's here, Jackie's here, everyone's here. Feel free to just type in the chat an answer to this question. How would the world change if you were an exceptional communicator? Most of us forget that communication is a lot more than giving a presentation. It's the way that we talk to our friends. It's the way that we talk to our family. It's the way that we engage with all the incredible people in our lives. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is to understand the relationship between your message and the fear that is associated to that message. All of us are scared of communication. I'm no exception to this rule. And anyone who tells you they're 0% scared of anything is probably lying. So what does this tell us? It tells us that exceptional communicators are still scared of public speaking. So the goal is not to remove the fear, but rather saying that the message outweighs the fear, so it's worth giving anyways. I'll give you a good analogy for this. It's kind of like a boxing ring. You're in this boxing match. One side of the ring is the fear. The other side of the ring is the message. The fear will always be in the ring, Travis, but as long as your message gets the knockout punch, you'll always be successful. So really start to think of what that message is. Tip number 3, and we can run this one if you want. It's called the random word exercise. I do this on every single one of my clients. It's the easiest thing to build momentum with your communication. You pick a random word, tissue box, wife, doorknob, camera, and you make a presentation out of thin air. And what this does is it's kind of like going to the gym where you're working on it all the time. So when you go back to your subject matter expertise, whether you're a thought leader, a coach, an entrepreneur, an executive, well, those presentations suddenly become a joke.
These are amazing. We already got some of our micro content clips there with our 3 steps to focus on. And one of the pieces that really stood out to me in this last one was utilizing exercises or challenges to get that groove going. Exactly as Robert's mentioning, you have to work the muscle. Amen, brother. And one of the things that I discovered, it was actually almost the same thing. When I was pursuing essentially YM News is struggling over there on YouTube. Hi, please help me. Let me know what you need help with over there, brother. Okay, all right. Back to action. So what I was alluding to was back when I was attempting to finally figure out public speaking or just getting beyond social anxiety. Like when I moved to downtown Denver, I had reached a point. I was living alone, wasn't working anymore in an office, and I had no way to make friends or approach people or do anything social. So I ended up joining and learning improv. And that moment of discovering improv comedy was just a push in the pool to get those muscles that we're talking about, brain muscles, going and getting those reps in. And one of the exercises was exactly that. You had to do a presentation or a Shark Tank style pitch for a product somebody else made up. And you had no preparation. You just had to jump straight into it, get it rolling. And it was one of my favorite things because out of nowhere, people would build this amazing presentation and all these points for something that didn't even exist when they started. So brilliant way to get that going is think of how those exercises can get you rolling. So brilliant way to start that adventure. Now, what about people that are they've tested the waters, they've done a few presentations, they've done some streams, stuff like that, but they want to level up to professional level, like Tony Robbins level, like energy or presence. What type of stuff or things can we specifically focus on, either on ourself, or about that whole process of jumping into a presentation, a speech, or stream? It's all leads us to the same same destination of clearly communicating our message.
Right. So that's a fascinating question. It's a bit more advanced, right? So if you're already doing well, how do you get to that next level? So there's a couple of things that we can touch on. The first one is communication goal setting. So go ahead and start thinking about in the chat, and feel free to type that as well. Are you someone who has goals? Many of us have goals in different areas of life. We have goals with our finances, goals with our business, goals with everything that we do. But how many of us have goals with our communication skills? Almost nobody. So the key is to figure out what are our communication goals and how can we get around those goals to then give us direction. Because if we don't have direction where we want to go, it's going to be really hard to hit that next level. So I'll give you a practical way to set communication goals, because it's not as easy as you might think. Because communication is very vague. What does being a great speaker even mean? And that's the challenge. So what you do is you pick 3 speakers that you really admire, the Tony Robbins of the world, the Gary V's of the world, Brene Brown, whoever you want, and write down one specific strength that you admire about them and one weakness, one thing you don't like about their communication style. And the reason the weakness is so important is it humanizes the speaker. Because the problem with picking somebody like Tony, like Robbins, is you look at him and you go, I just chose him for a goal, and I don't think I can get to that level. So it's very intimidating. Whereas when you start to point out flaws in their game, you start to realize, oh, there's some chinks in the armor. It makes them more human, and it allows us to get to that next level. And then the next part of the goal setting is after you have that sheet done. So I'll repeat that again: 3 speakers, 1 strength each, 1 weakness each. Then the next step is to say, am I going to invest 1 hour of my time next week to watch one of their keynotes instead of watching Netflix? Are we going to put that on the calendar? And the more we start to condition our minds to focus on who they are as speakers and their technique, rather than just putting them up on a pedestal, that's the fastest way to accelerate.
Yes, I am loving this. I see everybody that's hopping in here with us. Nick, Francisco still hanging. Thank you, brother. Jackie and Kelsey, Wayne as well. We're all enjoying this. And I'm now curious of your journey, because somehow you have. I'm gonna out you here. This kid is young. This kid is. I think you're not old enough to drink yet in our hood.
I'm definitely old enough to drink. 25.
Oh, fine. Fair enough. Well, babyface Brenden here is killing the game over in his world. And I'm curious how people that are at these thinking about it stages. So often we're in our head of, I love to do this, I want to do this. What challenges did you face between the old version of Brenden and who you've become now as a master communicator, and then now even amplifying that outward? What challenges did you face in that journey?
Oh, there's a bunch, but I'll give you the biggest one. The biggest one was definitely imposter syndrome, something that we always have, which is the fear of not being in one place. Oh, am I really the person who's supposed to share this idea, this message with people? And imposter syndrome cripples all of us, and I'm no exception to this rule. But the better exercise for people is, how did I overcome it? I overcame it by understanding what an expert actually means. Most of us, Travis, when we think of who an expert is, because I know people double my age who want to do what I'm doing and don't even try and get clients, don't even try and coach people. So what's the difference? The difference is understanding what an expert is. To most, it's PhDs, master degrees. You need to have all these things sorted out, all these degrees. Sorry, and that's not true. For me, being an expert simply means being one chapter ahead of the person before you. One chapter ahead. Period. I'll give you the best example of this. Let's say I came to your city. I forgot where you live, but let's say I came to your city. And I said, hey, what should I do in this city? Can you remind me really quick?
Colorado Springs.
Yes, I can picture up in those mountains.
Yeah.
So Colorado, right? So if I ask you for directions, you're going to say, well, Brenden, you should go to this park. You should go eat at this restaurant. You should go all these things. But you're not the expert of your city. Your dad didn't invent the city. You didn't create Colorado. Yet you seem very qualified to talk about it despite your lack of tourism experience. So same thing, when you come to my city, let's say you came to Montreal, and you ask me for stuff to do, I would do the same thing. Hey, Travis, you got to go to this park. You got to do these. I don't know why I'm so obsessed with parks. You got to go to these restaurants. But I'm no expert. My dad didn't invent this city. He barely got here with with all of his everything together. So what am I trying to explain here? I'm trying to explain the following. In some areas of our life, we tend to share expertise, and in others, we tend not to. Especially the ones that we make the most money from, especially the ones where we drive our living from, and where we feel that we've studied a lot more than most people. So my advice is start with the people you're comfortable with. When I was 22 and I opened my phone for the first time and started MasterTalk, the YouTube channel, I wasn't making those videos for my clients. I was making the videos for the 15-year-old girl who couldn't afford me. That's who I was focused on. Yeah, sure, it's 22. Yeah, maybe I'm not ready to coach executives, but I'm definitely ready to coach her. And then over time, it just grew. 20, 25 years old, 30. And now my average client age is in their late 40s. But it didn't start that way. Start with the person you're comfortable serving. There's a great quote on this, is if you help one person, the world will give you permission to help everyone else.
Another one. Another little mic drop moment here. This is amazing. No, exactly what we were hoping to tap into here. So what I was hearing from Brenden, which is something we've actually seen multiple times in this show, is understanding who you're trying to reach with deep clarity, deep empathy. And that's the same thing I do in the production side of what does a viewer need to get from this experience. And when it comes to communication and our words, that's the exact same thing I'm hearing from Brenden, is having that specific laser-focused individual that you can create that conversation with. You don't have to speak to a mass audience. That's something some of our prior guests have gone into, is talking to an individual rather than a massive "Hey, what's up, guys?" like the good old cliche, because you can just connect, like when you're speaking to that individual, and then when you have that extra layer of clarity that you're mentioning, of who that is, suddenly the words become much easier to get converted from what you're needing to say to what actually needs to be received on their end. Because the same words might not always hit the same way if you're not clear about your audience or the experience. So brilliant to hear more of that. So what I would love to tap into here while we're slowly/quickly running out of time, I would love to hear how this converts into the digital realm, or if anything needs to be changed. A lot of this is always about, we make the assumption public speaking is out on a conference stage with a keynote speech and all this. But in reality, we have so many of these other environments that you alluded to, work presentations, in our context, streaming. What other things can we be aware of beyond our words specifically, that we can recognize and optimize over time?
Absolutely, Travis. So a couple of ways in how we can think about this. Number one is keep your eyes on the prize. And in this case, it's the lens of your laptop or your computer that you're speaking through. Online presentations are a bit more unique, Travis, where you want to keep your eyes at all time on the lens, even if you're not looking at the other person directly. Whereas in person, what you would do is you would look at that person directly in the eyes and every single person in the room. Whereas in online, you want to keep the eyes there. So how do you do this? I recommend putting a little post-it note here that just says "look here or else." That's a fun one. Another one, another one that I like is you can put a picture of something that you love or someone that you love. So a piece of cheese if you really like cheese, or pizza, or your significant other if you have children, put it next to your camera lens so it always forces you to look at the lens. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is bring your virtual audiences to life. There's so many content creators that I meet who have never met their audience in person. I say something like this: okay, you want to grow your audience? How many people are watching your live stream, your YouTube channel, your podcast? They might say something like 70 people. And they go, okay, out of those 70 people, how many have you either met in person, or I love it, Kelsey, or that you've met or through a Zoom call? And they go, like 3? 3? Well, if you want to get to know your audience, you need to get on Zoom calls. You need to get to know them, who they are, what their beliefs are, what their fears are, what do they dream about, what do they care about. And the more you know that, the easier it is to speak in an online setting. So now this is a much easier for me to bring a lot of energy, even if I'm technically alone and there's nobody around me currently. Because since I've already had an offline conversation with you, I can already feel the energy because I already know you. So what I encourage other people to do is take your online relationships, your online audience, and make them offline. That means getting on a phone call with them before the talk and knowing 100% certainty they're going to be in the room, and all you got to do is speak to them directly.
Boom. Boom. We got the golden nuggets here. The golden nuggets of cheese. Follow-up question. What favorite cheese do you have next to your webcam picture or your webcam lens?
I actually don't have a picture. I don't apply this technique myself because I've done a good job at looking at the lens.
Oh,
this
look
is just
at this guy. Look at this guy.
I have to tell you the truth. I don't want to just lie and say, "Oh yeah, I got a picture of a goat next to my camera lens."
Goat
like,
cheese.
Yeah.
Oh, love it. No, this is amazing. Thank you to everybody that's sneaking in here. Drop a like or comment on this video. We can't see unless you say something, you little lurkers. So drop a like, drop a comment if you're hanging out with us, or if you see anybody in the chat you recognize, say hello. We are wrapping up with Brenden Kumarasamy, the founder of MasterTalk. So if you guys have any questions, we are approaching the 30-minute mark, so sneak those in as soon as possible. If you have anything to chat about, share your own input. I see a lot of people have been sharing. We got some questions already. So I believe somebody was asking how we can essentially get permission. I don't know where the comment went. Where did it go? Unless they deleted it. But in the context of stepping into these moments, a lot of it, as I've discovered, is just simply taking initiative. Same exact rhythm as the improv thing. You just have to step in and do it. How can we psychologically adjust to giving ourselves permission for those moments? Because I feel like a lot of people just either they might feel like, well, no, I guess, I mean, I want to say something, but it might not be that important. Or what if everybody just thinks it's a dumb idea and then they just abandon it? How do we give ourselves permission to lean into those moments?
Couple of things. So one, if you wait for permission, you won't create anything. So it's one thing to acknowledge that. It's important. Because if I had waited for permission for somebody to start a YouTube channel, to open my camera, to do something, I wouldn't have created anything. But there's another piece to that, which is getting permission from the right people. So what do I mean by that? What kept me going? My first year at MasterTalk was horrible. I hated making the videos. I had to come up with my phone. Now I got a production team. Life's a lot easier. But when I started, it was, okay, I got this phone. I got to present it. And I was miserable. So what kept me going? What kept me going was the 5 people who tuned in every single week. I remember I was 2 or 3 months into MasterTalk or something, and I thought I'd given up. I was like, this is such a stupid idea. I have like a 6-figure corporate job. What am I doing? I should just focus on my job that I just got. Until this woman messaged me and said, hey, Brenden, by the way, I've been watching all of your videos. Really insightful. I just went, oh, she's probably lying to me. She said, and then like, honestly, I wasn't very confident in my and then she said, oh, and these are the insights I got from the video. And I went, oh, she actually did watch it. And it's for those people that you're making the content for. So my words of advice to close this off is I encourage each and every one of you to have dinner with the person you want to serve. And I actually mean dinner. I'm big on interpersonal, very people person-esque. I completely think that is the right direction. Talk to the people that you want to serve, get to know them, and only show them your content. And slowly, 2 will become 4, 4 will become 8, 16, 32, 64, and you'll be on your way.
Boom, loving it. Thank you so much for jumping straight into these and giving direct context of this. I think it's very easy to tout best practices and this is what people do at the elite level, but realistically it's step after step after step after step, and it's encouraging to hear those moments because we have a few of those same people, those ride or die supporters from my world that are here in this stream today. So thank you to everybody that does support people while they're on the journey. That's what this is all about, is sharing the journey with one another, leveling up with one another, and seeing others win. Like, I just can't imagine a better feeling than the people that have worked with you, watching them succeed. So that's what it's all about. We do have a few more questions sneaking in here. Enrique over on Twitch, another OG supporter. Appreciate you, brother. He's asking, how much does attire matter? I see you got your signature little collar and sweater thing going on over there like a baller. I just wear a black t-shirt everywhere I go because I sweat through it. So how much does attire matter to public or digital presentations?
Short answer to this one, Enrique, it doesn't matter. I just put a nice shirt on because it's my brand, right? Because I put suits on and MasterTalk. But if you type my name on YouTube, you'll realize half of the interviews I've done on podcasts, I literally look homeless. I just have my hair's out of control. I just wanted to go through. I just needed to practice, and I didn't realize I needed to put on a dress shirt. So yeah, don't care about the attire. I think it's just wear something you're comfortable with, but more importantly, create.
There it is. Yeah, no, I think comfort is the biggest one for me. To a degree, there's some context where I would suit up, like going to a conference or a gala or something, like, for sure. But in most cases, yeah, as everybody else has seen me week to week, I too have a similar dilemma for I mean, I guess it's a super simple equation. Wear what you're comfortable with, most comfortable, and in turn, that hopefully turns into confidence. So another one sneaking in here from Wayne Gabriel, super supporter across several shows. When you prepare your speeches, how do we perform the research stage or the prep or that whole... I don't know if anybody else is like me, but if I have like a meeting or a presentation or something coming up, like even within 24 hours, I already like start thinking about it and stressing about it. So what would be your ideal recommendation for prepping and getting into the zone for a speech, presentation, or anything that we've got brewing?
Of course. So what I would say here, Wayne, it's a great question. There's a lot of steps to this, but I'll keep it super simple. What's the key idea that you're trying to deliver? If there's only one thing I'm going to get from your presentation, what is that going to be? Number 2, what is the best way to defend that key idea? So let's say my goal here in the show, which it is to convince all of you that you can become exceptional communicators. I then need to ask myself, what are the analogies, the stories, the examples that I can use to prove the idea?
Mhm.
And the way that I do it is through my own personal story. I struggled with French my whole life. I was a bad communicator, personal stories. It's practical tips because I'm saying, hey, do 1, 2, 3, and you'll get a lot better. And it's also, being relatable. If I just came here and I had a very obtuse personality, you probably wouldn't take my word for it. So that's the key. The last part is something that I call puzzle. So public speaking is like a jigsaw puzzle. You know those toys we used to do as kids? It's kind of like puzzle pieces. So if I asked you, Travis, really quick, let's say you were working on a puzzle yourself. Which pieces would you start with first and why?
Corners first, then do the horizontal edges, and then vertical edges, and inward from there.
Wow, that was the most technical answer I've ever heard. It's perfect, right? So outside in. Except in public speaking, thanks for that. We don't do that. We do the opposite. We start the middle, we shove a bunch of content, and then we ramble through the entire thing. Wrong. Don't do that. Prepare your presentations like a jigsaw puzzle. Start with the edges first. Introduction. Practice it 50 times. Don't practice it 3 times. Practice it 50 times. 50 seems like a big number. It really isn't. Because your intro is like 2 minutes. So it'll take you like an hour. Same thing with the conclusion. What's a great movie with a terrible ending? Last time I checked, terrible movie, right? 50 times the conclusion. In 2 hours of practice, you'll be shocked at how good you are, and that will give you the confidence to tackle the medal. But remember, like jigsaw puzzles, nobody does 1,000-piece puzzles on their own. Work with the team, work with friends, work with family, and tackle the puzzle piece of public speaking together.
Yo, clip it. We got another one. I'm a sucker for analogies too, so this is just all a winning recipe in my book. Some final ones that have snuck in here. Isaac was asking about backgrounds earlier, and then into the context of Zoom backgrounds, I believe was his recommendation. So we've talked about our voice. We've talked about our presence in general, our energy, and how to structure things. Now, how about our environment? How critical is this to deliver an effective message or communicate what we're trying to say? Should we be utilizing custom backgrounds, virtual backgrounds, or just letting it be organic in our wherever we end up popping up? Do you have any insights from your world to share on this for Isaac?
Absolutely, Isaac. I'm a very simple guy, so this is probably more of a you question, Travis.
Yeah, okay.
This is just a wall. This is just a wall, like literally just a wall. And I'm literally sitting on a mattress right now in my basement. It's just nobody realizes it because of the virtual background. I'm sorry, not the virtual background, just because the way the camera is positioned. So what's the advice? The advice is don't overthink it. Exactly. I think backgrounds are a distraction for a much bigger thing. Is where do we focus our time? And we should focus our time on mastering our presentation. And then when you become really good at communication, then yeah, sure, add in some backgrounds, add in some flair, whatever helps you.
Love it. Yeah, no, I would emphasize the comfortability that we were alluding to earlier, Isaac. Whatever you're most comfortable in is probably going to be the best anchor point. And then for me, I just consider technology and studios and all of the stuff that's not literally you that's coming to a stream or a presentation. I think of it in the context of world building. How can we utilize this technology, the tools, the music, the background to build a world that resonates with the message you're trying to convey? And in this context, I think in most cases you won't have to worry about a normal presentation, but I think there's a lot of room to use it as a creative tool, as a creative, just a single thing in your palette. It doesn't have to be a make or break, like, oh, I can't go on stream today because my background's not set up. No, it's not that at that level of detail. But when you are putting together a production or a presentation, all of those little details add up to the sum experience. So that would be my suggestion, is think of it as kind of a bonus round where once you've got the core message, the core fundamentals, everything covered, then maybe spice up the background and see how you can make that relevant to your message. So that would be, my recommendation there, Isaac. Appreciate you jumping in there on that one. So welcome to the 30-minute show that has never lasted 30 minutes. We are well over time, as always. I am going to let our lovely guest, Brenden, sneak out of here. Do you have any final words that you can share with the listeners that are hanging out here today? What can they do to become master talkers?
For sure, man. I'd love to end with a book recommendation, some life advice. My book recommendation is a book called Thirst by Scott Harrison. I think Scott's a master at storytelling, public speaking. And the book is heavily underrated. I think the guy's super intelligent. The way he story builds is something that I'm learning from constantly. And I model a lot of my public speaking after his teaching. So I highly recommend the book. Life advice. It's not necessarily related to communication, but I think if you follow this principle, you'll be an exceptional one. The principle is be insane or be the same. If you want to be like everyone else, that's totally fine. But if you want to make a difference in the world, you want to share an idea that's unique, you want to do something important, the only way forward is the path of insanity. Even if I built a successful practice and all that stuff, I still live in my mom's basement. And I love Justin Bieber. I love dancing. I do a bunch of weird stuff. And that's what makes us unique. Embrace that uniqueness, and you'll not only be an exceptional communicator, but I'm pretty sure you'll be exceptional everywhere.
Boom. I love it. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Brenden Kumarasamy. Thank you, sir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this was an amazing episode. Let me know what you thought of Brenden. This was a selfishly needed episode for me because I've been continuously trying to level up my own, not saying 100 times per stream and per speech. So I'm really trying to be as mindful as possible about my own communication, my own presentations. So yeah, a little bit of a selfish episode here, but that dude is on another level. Would love to know anybody that's hanging with us, what you would love to see in future streams, in future episodes. We are expanding into bringing more guests into our world. So we have a lot lined up for you as this show evolves and levels up over time. Big thank you to my associate producers, Jackie Curley and Teresa. Appreciate you guys supporting. Big thank you to Brenden hanging backstage. Always a pleasure connecting with you. This is only the start. So thank you to everybody that has been joining week after week as we become live stream legends together. We will catch you next week. Take care, y'all.